I hope you had no problem downloading the files from the internet and extracting it to your thumb drive. Now on this thumb drive, as you can see, I have organized files by COSC 1436 and COSC 1437. I have downloaded and installed or stored the source files for both of those classes and also the PowerPoint presentations. We have also configured your utilities that you will use in basically all your computer science courses. So you have your Java Developers Kit, Java Runtime Environment, the whole Java documentation, everything is installed on your thumb drive. We have 2 versions of Python and also the MinGW compiler for C++. Now beside that, you also need to have some other utilities and other tools like Dia. Dia will allow you to create flowcharts. And as you know by now, you don't just want to code, but you need to design. So in order to design your code, you do have to have some utilities to help you with that design process. Now Dia is a very useful utility because you can create UMLs and you can also create flowcharts. So as you can see with the UML, it is very user-friendly way of creating a UML, and Dia calls the fields attributes. So we know that we can interchangeably use attributes or fields, and you can set the modifiers and the data type for those. So operations are really your methods, or what you would call in C++ would be functions. So as you can see, you can just type in the name and the data type, which would be the return type of this method, and add your parameters. You can add the parameter names, the identifier names, and the identifier types, and you can add as many as you need. So it makes it very easy to create a professional looking UML diagram. You can also customize it and make it prettier and set background color or font colors to make it a little bit easier to read and identify the classes. So very customizable. And this way it runs from your thumb drive, so you can use it at home, you can use it in Open Lab in school, or you can use it directly in the classroom. Now we learn to incorporate and use the flowcharts with the UML. So Dia also allows you to, or it has a library of flowchart symbols. So in this case, this is the terminal symbol, and this is where the flowchart starts, and then we have a process. Process is just a rectangle. And just like with any other shapes, you can type in text and you can customize how the text looks. You can boldface it, you can change the background color, you can change the font color, whatever your preference is. And it makes it much easier than just drawing it on a piece of paper. So here I'm just showing you a basic example. So the shapes can be copied and just modified. So in this case, I copied the start shape and just changed the text in it. So it has a snap points where you can snap all the different lines to the shapes to show the flow of the program. And now you can modify a color, modify the attributes of each one of those shapes. So this is what we use in our classes when we have the UML, and then for each method we also draw the flowchart symbols or the flowchart for the method. Dia makes it very easy, and like I said, this way you can just run it directly from your thumb drive. So we have 7-zip to archive files, so that would be nice sometime to have handy. We have HXD. HXD is for a little bit more advanced students, those that are interested in looking at data from a very raw point of view. So this just opens up any file. So as you could see, I just dropped an exe file into it, so we can analyze the hex values of that file directly from that utility. In programming, you might not use it that much, but sometimes it's nice to learn about data structures. Zoom it is for presentation. You might not use it that much. Raptor you would use for flowchart interpretation. Raptor also has a portable version if you want to install that instead of the install file that I have in this archive. So we also have a Notepad++ running directly from the thumb drive, and as you can see, I created the macros so you can compile directly from Notepad++ Java code. So you can compile the Java code and you can run Java code directly in Notepad++. Also a very handy little utility to have with you all the time. Greenfoot and BlueJ. I would say in order to start learning about Java, you really need to know about BlueJ and Greenfoot. Okay, so in our Java class, we start out with Greenfoot, then we switch over to BlueJ, and eventually we'll switch over to Eclipse. So create a class is very easy. When you create a class, you get a template of what documentation you need for fields, for methods, for classes. So it does a really good job of teaching you what is the proper way of coding Java. But in most cases, you would get rid of all that and you would start from scratch. So in this case, I got rid of all the template generated fields and methods, and I'm just creating my own method. But you can see that the docstring is already put in for the class. I just have to modify that if I need to. So you just create your main method, and here we're just gonna say hello BlueJ world, and that's all. So in a few seconds you can create a class. You can just right click on the class and compile it. The slanted parallel lines show you if the code is compiled, and if the line's gone, then everything went fine. And then you can just run the main method by right clicking on the box and selecting the main method. So very easy to work with BlueJ to create a lot of classes in a very short amount of time. Now Greenfoot is to understand how to develop GUI-based applets or GUI-based applications or games. It's a very good IDE to get GUI concepts across to anybody new to game development or GUI development that is still Java-based. Now there are a lot less classes in Greenfoot, so you can learn how to use the API and how to use the documentation for the classes. So you can just compile really quickly all your classes, run the classes, change the speed, how fast the game refreshes each one of the frames, so you can speed it up or slow it down. It's a very nice environment for developing GUI applications. Now Eclipse, you want to start or run the start Eclipse batch file. Here you can make sure that you can find your thumb drive, and it should be set to R. So in my case it is G right now. So I right click on this PC or my computer and go to manage. But in any way, it doesn't matter what Windows version you have, you just need to look up how to get to Disk Manager. In Disk Manager, you right click on your thumb drive, you find your thumb drive, right click on it, and you're gonna say change drive letter. And then you wanna make sure that it says R. I selected a pretty high letter, so it's not gonna be conflicting with anything else, hopefully. So after you made that change, then you go back and then you run again the Eclipse start.bat file. So here, just as a confirmation, you just type in R again, and now Eclipse runs. Select your workspace, make sure that it is r/workspace, so it is, you are saving everything to your thumb drive, and you're gonna be looking at all the basic classes or all the basic projects that I included in this pre-configured environment. So you should see the Python driver, the Python example, the C++, and the Java example. So first of all, whatever language that you running, you want to select that perspective on the top right hand corner of your screen. So you have the perspective, you open up the source file, and then you compile it. So you compile it with the little green triangle. So you can make changes to your files, to the source file, then you save your changes, you compile it, and now you can see that the console shows the output, so everything went fine, so your source code has compiled. So in C++, it's the same method. So you select the C++ source code, you change the perspective to C and C++, and then you can compile it and see what the output is. Now as you can see, in front of x equals x plus 5, that line, there is a breakpoint. So then we can change the perspective to debug, and this is a very good perspective because you can monitor as the variable values are changing. This is going to be the most useful, most helpful environment in order to find out where you made a mistake in your code. So with the breakpoints, you can step through the code one line at a time and monitor the values of your variables. So close down the source, and then you can look at or open up the Java driver file, the Java example that I pre-configured here. Again, the perspective is changed to Java, and now you compile it and you have the output, the console output. So I also configured the Java documentation here, so you don't have to have internet access in order to read the Java documentation. So you can just click on or put your cursor over any of the classes and the Java documentation shows up, you can press F2 to take the Java documentation in focus, and then you can open it up like you would open it in your browser. But right now, right here, directly inside Eclipse, you can read the documentation for any class. So it's a very self-contained environment where everything is pre-configured for you and ready to work, ready for you to do your magic and work on your homework. So if you want to do it a little bit harder and you don't really need the IDE, right, you can use Notepad++ to write your source files and then practice compiling all your source on command line. So you can compile everything on command line, Java, C++, and Python if you choose to. So here I'm just copying the source file to a different directory just to show you how that works. Okay, so here I'm just copying the C++ source file to the root of the R drive. So now you can see that we have cpp driver.cpp file here, and then you can maybe just as a practice changing directory on the command line, and in this case I'm copying the driver.java file to the same place. Okay, you need to put in the r:\\. Okay, so if we do cd \, that takes us back to the root of R, and now you can see we have the CPP and the Java file. So here I'm using the Greenfoot and BlueJ JDK in order to compile the driver.java file. And now you can see we do have the .class file. And again, I can just use the BlueJ JDK to run the driver. So for that, you just type in Java space driver and no file extension. But you can use the Java runtime environment that is directly installed under Java, and you can see that Java runtime environment also runs this class. So you can do all kinds of things. You can practice all kinds of things with this thumb drive. You can do it through GUI, many different utilities, or you can do it directly with the interpreter and compile everything on command line. So in this particular case, I'm in min gw bin directory and using G++ to compile the CPP source code to create an output.exe executable, and now you can just run that executable. So you can see that we compiled a C++ code on command line, and now we can just simply run it. So you can do the same thing with Python. Okay, so if you change directory to the Python directory, and you can see here is the driver.py, which is the source code for the Python code. Okay, then just you point the terminal directly to our Python, in this case 2.7 python.exe, and then tell it the source code, and you can see it runs the source code. So play with this and see if you find any kind of error messages, or if you see anything that's wrong with the configuration, and let us know. Let me know what is your experience, and is there anything else that you would like to see or you would like to be configured on this environment. So as a community we can make it better and evolve this kind of environment in a way that you can use in school as an environment in any of your STEM courses. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you're gonna use this environment and help us improve on it. See you next time.